Well, the effort to reduce the number of nuclear weapons in the world is something that every nuclear power has signed on to, but yet more countries are trying to obtain atomic bombs. Why is that? And will these strong weapons always be around? I talked about that and more with Greg Thielmann. He's a senior fellow at the Arms Control Association.
They're attracted to nuclear weapons because they see it not only as something which will give them prestige as being able to develop a technology that is very highly advanced and putting them in a very small club of countries, but they see it as the one weapon that can magically protect them from invasion by even the most powerful country in the world. So that's what we really have to battle against, those of us who are interested in eventually getting rid of nuclear weapons. And the other thing to say is that we have reduced so much on an aggregate level the number of nuclear weapons in the world from the Cold War days when there were, I think, over 40,000 nuclear weapons. Now we're down to like 16,000, which is still an awful lot of nuclear weapons, but there has been a steady decrease in the overall number. So we're making progress in terms of the dynamics, but it's still a very tough issue with certain countries who seem to think that that going after nuclear weapons is worth a lot of sacrifices.
Can you talk to me about what you see emerging from the P5+1 negotiations? I mean, obviously, diplomacy, one would agree, is the right course of action. Is there lessons that we can learn from these tough talks that just concluded in terms of stymieing other efforts?
I think there are lessons. There's some very important lessons, and we have learned from that unhappy experience negotiating with North Korea when we thought we had an understanding in 1994 and later about the denuclearization of the peninsula, and it turned out not to be the case. And we had some surprises about what North Korea was actually doing. I think we've come a long way since that time. One of the things that we've learned in the case of Iran is that for the negotiating partners of Iran, which were the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council and Germany, by these countries, including Russia and China, maintaining solidarity, I think the fact that they did maintain solidarity was a very important ingredient in getting to a successful outcome in these negotiations. That ability of these countries that have a lot of different foreign policy interests to work in unison on getting Iran to agree to getting back in the good graces of the international community, I think that shows us what solidarity can do. And to develop an agreement which has a lot of detail and a lot of complications, but one which doesn't leave a lot of grounds for impatience, that's also an important part of this agreement.
Do you see this as perhaps a pathway to reopen the 6-party talks? I mean, is that where you'd like to see the next effort?
I would like to see that, and I think one of the things that I would like to see is a little bit more enthusiasm on the part of the U.S. and some of the other countries in diplomatic engagement. Sometimes we act as if merely sitting down at the table is doing the other side a big favor, that somehow being willing to discuss with the North Koreans these nuclear issues, even before the North Koreans agree to ultimately denuclearize, is somehow considered a weakness. To me, it's very important to start talking and to start talking with the several countries which have an intimate interest in getting a good outcome in the process. So I hope that the Iran example will inspire re-engagement with the North Koreans.
Greg, thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome.